Hi, this is Cappy Bro. I'm doing an unedited video to overview my Arknights account because for this following week, basically all I did was play Enfield. I played Enfield after work, during work, at night, stayed up playing Enfield. Enfield consumed my life for this last couple days it's been out. So about my thoughts on the game and then count review. So let's first by starting with I'm level 53. I have 21 operators. I have like every operator so far. And then operators. My Levitain is P4. I've spent a bit of money on the game, but less than my other games. I only did, well, I did about 240 pulls. Well, I guess no. Yeah. 240 total. Because what happens when you pull early the unit is it starts the 240 count. So I did 240 pulls total on Levitain. And I had built her team with Ardelia, which we have free, which I also pulled potential one of. I pulled Yvonne on my last 50-50 for Levitain. So I have her and the Navigator, the Battle Pass weapon. I'm enjoying her also. As you see, mine's not as well built, but it's getting there. I got Gilberta at roughly hard pity. About 70 pulls for Gilberta. What I wanted was to lose Gilberta to Levitain to finish this, but that did not happen. So my Yvonne team is also being built, and Fluorite is the last character I'm trying to build up. I had built Alesh a little bit up, but decided I don't want to put him in here. And then the next team I'll be building will probably be a physical team because I have both Ember and Li Feng also. And then that will be decided whether I want Pogronichik or Last Right from my selector, which I still haven't used. Where is that? This one. Right, I still haven't used. And then I also still own one of these, which lets me pick one of these weapons. But yeah, so I have level 90s, main DPS, 80, everyone else for the most part. Here I swap Fluorite for Ardelia because we have no need for two-team content. My Yvonne's nowhere close to as strong as Levitain, and I feel like the physical team, from what I've seen, is stronger than all of them. I want to make an electric team also, but yes. The status of like all my zones are maxed. 12 and 6. Oh, look, we have a depot. So some thoughts about how I feel about the game. I guess I could show you. Let's start with my thoughts about the most contentious part of the game. I feel is everyone's concerned with their headhunting. So you see here is 170. I pulled her on the 70th pull. So that subtracts from 240. So what I feel about the gotcha system in this game. Um, Overall, for getting a character, I feel like it's. I personally feel like it's okay if you just want a character and you just save 120 pulls to make sure you have the guarantee. I play a lot of sparking system S games, but the difference between a spark system game and one that's more like Hoyo styled, right, is that the drop rate for the character is 0.8%, right? Like, if I played Uma Musume, Blue Archive, um, Grand Blue Fantasy, they all have 2, 3, like not a point something percent drop rate on their max level characters, which there's no guarantee within that to get a character. So it's like a middle ground, right? Because everyone's aiming for the Hoyo style where there's a 50-50 and then the next 50-50 is guaranteed every 90-ish pulls, 80-ish pulls, depending on the game. Here we have a 50-50 every 80-ish pulls, but there's no next 50-50 is guaranteed. I personally think that part is cheaper for most people because I'll be real, how I experience the gacha system is that I always go to the max double pity, almost always. Like, I very rarely win my 50-50s. So before I pull in any of those games already, I have 160, 180 pulls saved up, which 120 for the first copy is by far cheaper than 160, 180. Then you have people who want to like do something like build pity. Sadly, you're not building pity anywhere here. You either gonna make sure you pull the character or you're wasting pulls. So that's the biggest thing. I'm not saying either or is the right system. If you played like Fate Grand Order, Grand Blue Fantasy, all that stuff, none of those, well, most of those don't carry over that I recognize. Also, so it's like you either pull your unit or you're not getting it. Even Limbus Company doesn't save pity to the next thing. But of course, that has a lot of free ways of getting their characters. So I think it's an okay system for getting one copy of the character, and then we end up more expensive for getting potentials for the character. So I am a whale who has multiple M6s, V6s, E6s, C6s, whatever, all this stuff. Well, I don't really consider myself whale, but I do spend a decent amount of money. So I think that 240 in a game that's like equally, if not more expensive than Hoyoverse style games and the like, is very rough. And then but that also goes to the part where like the potential game is like whale territory, right? And then the potentials here are not that strong. Multiply is increased to 1.2, which I think is just 1, right? And then you get some SP back. So this is the biggest thing. The 2 intellect and basic attack damage. Right? Sure, it's 15% on the basic attack, but that's not where most of her damage is. And 20 intellect out of, like, mine is like 500 something right now, is a diluted stat. Now, this one is a little more interesting. Improved combustion damage, but overall, still not where most of your damage comes from. Most of your damage is coming from what would give you in the P5, and even then, I think it's 1 to 1.2. So like 20% during the ultimate. But this is the part that's really cool, is that you could extend it by 7 seconds. But even then, this is not what's going to give you the win. Energy cost down, that all helps for me not having to build as much energy regen stat on her, right? Ultimate gain efficiency stat. So that I get the 2-cycle rotation, not a 3-cycle rotation with Levitate. Which, at that point, it's a decent bit stronger, but not power creeping like everyone else, like out of the water kind of thing. So that's how I feel about the headhunting. There's always goods and bads, and I read somewhere about like the predatory nature. It's like, if you like see the benefit you get, I honestly don't think you should be pulling unless you want the character. Like the extra pulls, the potentials, none of that is like significant. But that's how I feel about the gacha system in the game. And so far, I'm a big winner in the gacha system. But where I agree with almost everyone else on this is the fact that you need to pull characters to get weapons, because you need a ton of these arsenal tickets. Really, you don't need like a ton, but you would want to have at least enough to get 10 pulls, right? The thing is that you're pretty solidly, you're 100% guaranteed to get it at the 80th pull. And then it has a great drop rate. Let's see if we can pull that up. I think that's the weapon. Yeah. 4%. Now, everyone's like, oh, there's a 75-25 where you're on the losing side. It's because this is a rate. This is not even right. It's not a 50-50 or 75-25. It's a 4% drop rate. This is like a more clear sparking like system where you get a 4% drop rate on a lot of weapons, and then this one's like double the rate. Now, it's really rough though. But you're 100%. It's not like because you're not chasing a guarantee 75-25, right? You're chasing a guarantee 100%. So it's the same kind of guarantee as WUA, except WUA will give you the 100% if you hit early. But their hit is 0.6%, 0.8%, somewhere around there, while this is 4%. On your way to this weapon, you'll be like me and have pulled multiple 6-star weapons. Where is this? I don't know where this one is on here. It's this menu though. Right, so I got this, 3 of those, right? Valiant. Right, so, and I pulled an Oblivion, I believe, also in there. Yeah, I pulled Oblivion while on my way to delivery guaranteed. So yeah, you'll have plenty of 6-star weapons because in the time you're chasing the 80 pulls, 2 to 3 should drop at a 4% rate. If you're lucky like me, you'll get. I dropped 7 weapons in 100 pulls, and so that's a big win, right? But the thing is that you have to pull for characters if you want those weapons. So my friend, who's probably not pulling for Levitane, wants Cravenger for Last Right, will not be able to get it because he won't get weapon pulls. So I think this needs a better way of getting them, which you could get a few from like credit stores and stuff, but nowhere near a significant amount to do a 10 pull or 2. So I think this needs to be reworked for people who do want to save, because the system, I'm of a mind where it's not really encouraging too much pulling. In fact, it actively discourages a lot of random pulling. And since it does discourage a lot of random pulling, the part that you really want to do a lot of random pulling is in return for some weapon banner. So there's that. And then how I feel about the combat. I feel like the combat in the game is on par, a little more simple, but it is a 1.0 than a lot of the current games on market. Genshin, WUA, Where Winds Meet. I don't even know if I want to compare that one because it doesn't have a character gacha, but it is an open world game, collectibles, combat. It is, or even more like combat focused games. There's ZZZ and so on. And I am playing currently Withering Waves and ZZZ still. I don't play Genshin anymore, but I think that the combat has a lot of parts that could make interesting, more varied kits. And I think we're at a part where they either simplified them down to make them easy to digest, and then we'll get more complicated ones as the time goes on. But I have a lot of fun with the combat. I don't think it's empty. The buttons feel good. The combat is mostly smooth. There's some times where it targets an enemy that I didn't want it to, and I'm trying to go for something else. I wish there was more meaningful targeting in the game, which I knew the closed betas, the early ones, had a more like a skill shot system in place, and I think that would have been more interesting, but I heard it was a bad combat system, so maybe they could pull off something similar. But I think the Dijon is fine. I think AIC, like the um, factory system, is something I don't engage hard with. And I personally, it was cool and I like figuring it out, but you know, when I'm trying to actually make this stuff, it's kind of like, all right, well, someone figured out a more efficient thing than I figured out, right? How to, thank God for blueprints kind of deal. But I think it's fun and cool and an interesting idea. I think the tower defense aspect at the outposts I don't really like. But I know that's where it, you know, the origin of the game's tower defense. The clue system's back. I think that's fun. Um, the workshop systems, you know, all of this emulates the base building of the original Arknights. I think that is cool. And then I'm really hoping for a good end game. I think that's what I'm feeling right now. Let's see what else. I think the gearing system is very interesting. I wish there were a few more parts to it, but with how artificing is, that would make it very hard. But they could literally just change the ratio of mats. But I like how those are strict sets, and then there's a few combos that you could do and off pieces. I wish there was maybe one more off piece slot, or maybe a way to do two sets. That's that would be cool, but or like a 3-piece and a 2-piece set, but then it would all be 3-piece, 2-piece, so I'm not sure. I like the fact that there's at least one off piece, so I just wish there was a few more parts to the gearing system, since it is very much a big part of your weapon. Well, not your weapon, of your gearing. 4, I think it's mostly okay. Like I said, I personally, I don't mind if there was like 7. But we'll see once I start crying about how hard it is to artifice most of this up. The weapons are cool. All the models look great. Even though the weapon models, let's see, Yvonne. Essences, I think, is an interesting system, and this is like our next sanity sink. Our major sanity sink will be trying to finish off essences, I guess. And I think it's going to be more reliable and more consistent building up than, um, let's say, your regular relic system. Like, I already got the Wuling, this perfect one for my what's her name? For my Levitane's Forgeborn Scathe. So, is there another system? Friends are cool. We get good none of them. I wish there was more like a guild system. I personally like them even in games like this. I'm almost done with the battle pass. Scaling up. Feel like I wish we had currently more income for the crowns. We have right now the events that are gonna be dropping, like, I guess we can't even see the next one yet. 5 hours for the next one. It gave 2 here, and then this one gave us 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we got 10 total. It takes 6 to max 1 skill. Someone was trying to explain to me that it's 3. Maybe that's different for a different start, but for certain, the next tier for my Levitane is 3 for the third one. It was 1, then 2, then 3, so it's 6 per skill. So you're looking at 24 per operator if you wanted to max mastery them, which that's one of those things where you need to decide. Levitane for sure is her ult, then it's gonna be her skill kind of deal. And then I'm doing that for, yeah, Yvonne's ult. Most of them get, most of the DPS will be their ult, I'm sure. Most people will probably be their ult. Let's see here. Any other system that I want to talk about? Oh, exploration. Since there's no climbing, I actually find it super fun. And I'm more engaged with the world. Mostly, you're also building in the world, so I feel very much more engaged with the world as a whole. So I've done like half here, but I finished a few zones. This one's in a quest, I believe. But yeah, I finished a few zones already. This one I finished this one. Load Spring's the one I'm almost done. But I have finished Power Plateau also. And Quarry. And then I'm normally a person who doesn't have a lot of time to play these kind of games, is why I end up dropping them. But I had a ton of time the last few weeks because I got snowed in, so there was that. But overall, I'm having a lot of fun with Enfield, more fun than I did for certain launch of Wuwa. Wuwa launch, I was so dead and bored at that game. Genshin launch, I played a ton of Genshin on launch. We were in COVID, and I was just recently unemployed at the time. But even then, I didn't play it as much as I sunk into Enfield. Part of that is probably because I now know what those games entail, and that like Genshin was like the first of this kind of like 3D open world adventure style gotcha game, right? In the gotcha form. I was playing like, Zelda Breath of the Wild, all these other games, but in the gotcha form, Genshin was one of the like first in class. Let's see. Anything else? Don't ask me about all these texts. I never respond to texts, not even real life. I have a few more quests to do, mostly blue ones, but we're almost done here. Oh, the story overall. I am not the biggest Arknights fan. I quit Arknights about 3 to 4 months into its life cycle because it just didn't fit my lifestyle at the time. Because I only have one phone and the autoing took forever. I do like tower defense and I did like it, but it just doing the dailies took too much time and I was playing like 10 other games at the time. So when it takes so much time, that's the kind of game that gets dropped, which these games for me end up getting dropped also. And then I'll be like what I'm doing right now, playing them again when I do have some more free time and catching back up. But I think overall, I really like the story we're at right now in Wuling. Valley 4 was very rough, and kind of generic. Honestly, it felt very much like Wu was first chapter, except better written. And I'm already invested in Arknight stuff. Like Wu was hard to get invested in, so they both had. It's like it's like I have a double standard here, but it's not because it's a true double standard if you ask me, but they both have a lot of jargon thrown at you at the beginning. And I think for Wuwa, it's thrown there to try to get you interested in the world. It's like, wait, what's a tacit discord? What is all this like musical referencing and all that? And for Arknights, it's really because there's already an existing game with a lot of jargon. It really just catches you up to speed in there, or trying to get you into speed of that. And that is Arknight's benefit, is that it has existing lore. So I wasn't confused when they started talking about Originium and all that stuff, or Oropathy. So because I already had prior experience. Like Wuwa was brand new, and I think for me the biggest thing is like I don't like being called admin. I guess is okay. Administrator, Enfield's administrator, admin, sure, but I did not like being called Rover. I felt like a dog. And then I think the voice acting quality is better. I mean, newer game also, so it's not the fairest comparison. But yeah, I think overall that was fine. ZZZ. got my attention really fast, but I burnt myself out really fast. And then I'll be real about how I feel. It's like I don't talk too much about the combat, if you notice, because I don't like engaging in a lot of combat. I do enough combat to beat bosses and get the resources I need. Um, so a combat focused game like like ZZZ, when I either no longer have fun in the combat or get bored with the character I'm running, and the pace of character releases is, I mean, it's not slow, but like what for me to get a new DPS or a better DPS, I guess is the question, because once I had Miyabi, I got really bored really fast because I was clearing everything. Um was It's just not the best thing for me. But Arknights gets a bit benefit because I'm already heavily invested in the lore of Arknights. And then, so I mean, I'll play them. Like I play these games mostly for story these days. That's really where I keep coming back to them, and I'll be coming back to even like Honkai Star Rail to just get into that 4.0 story. But overall, I'm having a lot of fun time, mostly because there's other aspects to the game. There is the tower defense, which I think I would like expanded more on, or maybe a cooler version of, and the stock trading and um, factory building. All that keeps me on the game when I'm not in the mood to go slash. Overall, I think I'm having a very good time with Enfield. I put it as far as a 1.0 experience, high on the list of 1.0 experiences for me. I think overall I put in about the same amount of time into this game as I did just about any of the other games, so probably over like 100 hours is, and probably way more than that, honestly, even though it's only been out for 2 weeks and something days. Um, but overall, it's a pretty good game. It looks beautiful, but this is a lot of benefit to the time they took to make it look beautiful. Because I don't think, even though we could talk about it being like a newer game and all that stuff, um, the tech between some of the games, like Wu was on Unreal and this is on Unity, just shows like, you could go a long way if you are chasing that fidelity. Um, and of course, Wuwa, I'm sure, looks better in newer zones, but the models themselves have very good and interesting textures in here, and I think that's also part of the art direction. And from what I saw of Wuwa, it's more grander scale, looks amazing. Like I just look at the textures on the sheet cushions, it looks really upholstered and stuff like that. I think Enfield really takes the cake in some of those stuff. And that'll be it for me and my ramblings on my Arknights account and how I feel about the game. If you have any questions about me clarifying or thinking another aspect of the game that I missed, let me know. And I'm just doing this so I get my weekly video with like very little editing. Thank you, and bye bye.